Have you ever wondered what makes up a story? Is it just the author's imagination? Perhaps his or her own desired reality. However, a literary work is more than just the information that the author wants to convey. Just like anything around you, a literary work is composed of different parts. No literary work would end up successfully without any of these parts. Hi there, I am teacher Rasmin and I am from the FLUENT Brigade. And in this lesson, we are going to explore the different literary elements that we use in writing creative nonfiction. We have 4 literary elements of creative nonfiction. These are character and characterization, setting, plot, and of course, the figures of speech. In any literary work, conceivable characters are required. These are people or personas, animals, entities, and so on, who are present throughout the story or text. We have protagonists versus antagonists, dynamic versus static characters, and round versus flat characters. Protagonists are the main characters of a story. They are the hero of the story who receive interest and sympathy of the readers. On the other hand, antagonists are the opposing characters, and they are dubbed as the villains of the story who create the conflict. Dynamic characters are the characters of the story who goes through significant changes throughout the story. Meanwhile, the static characters oppose dynamic characters, wherein the character remains the same even the story progresses. A well-developed character with complex and contradictory traits is referred to as a round character. He or she is usually a main character in the story with multiple personalities. On the other hand, a flat character, as the name implies, is one who is straightforward. He or she is typically a minor character with only 1 or 2 traits. Characterization is the author's method for developing a character. This may include the character's family history, goals and motivations, personality, or attitude. And we have 2 types of characterization: the direct and indirect characterization. Direct characterization is a way of describing a character in a very specific manner. Particularly, the physical descriptions of the character are being emphasized. On the other hand, indirect characterization is a way of describing a character through his or her behavior, speech and thoughts, such as the language dialect he or she uses, his or her demeanor, and his or her actions reflecting his or her personal traits. Setting is an essential component of a literary work. It describes the setting of the story at a specific time, story's environment, which may consist of the location, climatic condition, weather, or societal and cultural surroundings. And we have 4 elements of setting: the physical location, time, the social milieu, and change. Physical location refers to the physical realities of the setting, such as the geographic location, scenery, and some other factors. As an element of setting, It gives the readers an idea of the character's immediate surroundings. Time refers to the time when the story takes place. Social milieu is the surrounding culture or social world as a whole, wealthy or poor, homogeneous or diverse. Change refers to how the setting can be affected by the way it changes, over time or suddenly. Plot is the thorough structure of factual information gathered by the author in literary writing. And we have 5 elements of plot: the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution or denouement. Exposition describes the main characters, establishes the setting, and introduces the story's conflict. Meanwhile, rising action is the part where the reader's interest arouses, and it is where the conflict is introduced. Climax is the point at which the reader experiences the most exciting and intense emotions. Falling action is the point at which the story begins to slow down. And lastly, resolution or denouement is where the problems within the plot have been solved and the story can end. This is an example of a plot structure which was based from the novel Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. Now, let us proceed to the figures of speech. These are rhetorical devices that, when used, give a word or phrase a new meaning. These are languages with a different meaning than their usual definition. We have 8 commonly used figures of speech, and these are personification, simile, metaphor, hyperbole, synecdoche, onomatopoeia, oxymoron, and paradox. Personification gives an inanimate things, animals, and ideas human qualities. For example, the leaves are waving at us. Simile, on the other hand, is a direct comparison of 2 things using the words like and as. An example, you treat me like a rose. Meanwhile, metaphor is an implied comparison between 2 things that have similarities. For instance, your eyes are stars. Hyperbole is an exaggeration of an idea. For example, I run faster than the wind. Synecdoche is the use of something as part of a whole. An example, I'll show you my new wheels. The synecdoche on this part is the word wheels, because, as it is a part of a car, it was used to refer to the car. Onomatopoeia. It is the word that represents something through its sounds. Boom, kring, kring. Oxymoron is a phrase comprised of 2 contradicting words to make an idea. For example, it was seriously funny. And lastly, paradox is a statement that looks like contradicting itself but creates a truthful idea. For instance, this is the beginning of the end. This is the end of our today's lesson, and I hope you learned something from our discussion. Again, I am Teacher Rasmin from the FLUENT Brigade. Thank you for listening.